Mr. Powner? Wait, is that actually you?
Jordan! Wow! How long has it been? 6, 7 years?
Almost 10 years. Junior year was my last year with you before you retired. We were all pretty sad when you left.
I miss it more than I expected, honestly. 30 years in the classroom, and then suddenly you're just not. It's been an adjustment.
What have you been doing with yourself?
Well, staying busy. Lots of traveling in our RV. I've been writing most nights. Some ministry work I'd been planning for years. Figuring out who I am when I'm not Mr. Powner anymore. But enough about me. What about you? You were headed to state, right? Pre-med or something?
Yeah, that didn't exactly work out. Changed majors twice, took a gap year that turned into 2, finally finished with a business degree. Now I'm doing project management for a tech company.
Hey, that's not nothing. You landed on your feet.
I guess. Actually, I was kind of hoping I'd run into you sometime.
Really?
You always said in class that you couldn't share your religious views at a public school, but that after we graduated, we could ask you anything. So I finally get to ask.
I remember that you were one of the persistent ones, weren't you? Always trying to get me to slip up.
I was convinced you were a member of my church. The way you talked about families, the way you treated people, I kept looking for clues.
And I kept telling you.
You said, watch how I live and treat people. Pay attention to what I care about and what upsets me. You can probably figure out what I believe without me saying a word.
Did you figure it out?
I had my suspicions, but you never confirmed anything. It drove me crazy.
Well, you aren't my student anymore. You can ask me anything now.
I guess I'm not here to ask what church you belong to. I already know the answer to that. I'm here because I don't know what I believe anymore, and I thought maybe you could help.
That's a big thing to carry. What's on your mind, Jordan? You look like you're holding very tight to something.
Can we sit for a minute?
Of course. Let me grab my lunch. And hey, you can call me Aaron now. I think you've earned it.
It feels a little strange to call you by your first name. I always saw you as a trusted adult. You're a minister now. What do people call you in that role?
Some folks I serve and work with call me Brother Aaron.
Okay then. Brother Aaron, I hope you can help me. I don't even know how to start. It's going to sound stupid.
Go ahead. Try me.
I did most of what I was supposed to do, you know? Finished school, got a decent job. I'm not rich, but I'm not struggling either. I've got friends, a relationship that's going pretty well. On paper, things are fine. But there's this... I don't know how to describe it.
It's okay. Take your time with it.
I am proud of what I've accomplished, but I feel tired. Maybe I'm burnt out. It's like an itch I can't scratch. This feeling that something's missing, even when nothing's actually wrong. Some days I wake up and think, is this it? Is this what I worked so hard for? Is this who I'm supposed to be? And then I feel guilty for even feeling that way because I know people have it way worse.
That doesn't sound stupid at all.
No?
No. Actually, what you're describing is so common it's almost universal. I've heard versions of it from students, from people I've worked with in ministry, from my own mirror. There's this hunger that most people feel at some point in their lives. We don't all feel it at the same time, and it's not even continuous within an individual's lifetime. Some days it's silent, others it is a full-blown existential crisis. It depends on what's happening in one's life. When we feel it, it's a hunger for something more than just getting by, more than just being comfortable. And the strange thing is, it often shows up strongest when things are going well.
Why would that be?
When things are hard, you're mostly too busy surviving to notice the hunger. You're just trying to get through the day. But when the pressure lets up and you finally have room to breathe, that's when you start asking the bigger questions. Who am I? What's this all for? Is there something I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Then you're in good company. That hunger isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. If anything, it's a sign you're paying attention.
But what am I supposed to do with it? I've tried stuff. I went through a phase where I was really into self-improvement. Books, podcasts, the whole thing. Some of it helped for a while. Then I tried getting more serious about fitness, thinking maybe I just needed to feel stronger. That helped too, kind of. But the feeling always comes back.
It does, doesn't it?
So what's the answer? More therapy? Meditation? Going back to church? Get a hobby?
Therapy, when you need to work through things, is a healthy choice. Going back to church to find a supportive community is a good choice too. Can I tell you something that might sound strange?
Sure.
What if the hunger we all sometimes feel isn't a problem to solve?
What do you mean?
I spent a lot of years thinking exactly what you're thinking, that the restlessness was a bug, and my job was to find the fix. The right answer, the right practice, the right doctrines or belief system would finally make it go away. But I've started to see it differently now.
How so?
What if the hunger is actually a feature? What if it's built into us on purpose?
That sounds like something someone says to make suffering feel meaningful.
Fair enough. You always were sharp. But think about it from a teaching perspective. You remember what I used to say when you guys got stuck on a lab experiment and wanted me to just give you the answer?
The struggle is where the learning happens.
Drove you crazy, didn't I?
A little bit, yeah.
But was I wrong?
No, the labs where I had to figure it out myself were the ones I actually remembered.
Right, because struggle isn't the enemy of growth. It's the mechanism of growth. The discomfort of not knowing, of having to reach for something just beyond your grasp. That's where the transformation happens. What if spiritual growth works the same way?
So you're saying the restlessness is productive?
I'm saying it might be the engine. The thing that keeps us from settling. The thing that keeps us becoming.
Becoming what?
That's the question, isn't it?
Okay, but becoming what? I don't even know what I'm supposed to be aiming at. I've got more questions than answers at this point.
Good for you.
Good? How is that good?
Because questions are how we grow. You remember Socrates?
Vaguely. Drank poison. Asked too many questions.
That's the guy. He was onto something though. The unexamined life and all that. Look, here's what I've learned after a few decades of wrestling with this stuff. The questions don't go away. They're not supposed to.
So I'm just supposed to live with this uncertainty forever?
Not uncertainty exactly. More like ongoing discovery. There's a difference.
What's the difference?
Uncertainty feels like being lost. Discovery feels like being on a path, even when you can't see where it leads. The questions that haunt you. Who am I? Why am I here? What happens when I die? Does any of this matter? Those aren't obstacles to finding peace. They're invitations to keep growing. They're companions on the journey, not enemies.
That's a nice thought. But how do you live with questions that big without going crazy?
Some days you don't. Some days they feel crushing. But over time, you develop a kind of capacity, an ability to hold the uncertainty without falling apart. I think that's what spiritual maturity actually looks like. Not having all the answers, but being able to live with the questions without despair.
And you've done that? You've made peace with not knowing?
Made peace? I don't know about that. Some questions still keep me up at night, but they don't terrify me the way they used to. They feel more like part of the curriculum.
There's that teaching metaphor again.
Can't help it. 30 years in the classroom leaves a mark.
Okay, so the questions are supposed to be there. The hunger is supposed to be there. But what do people do when it gets to be too much? I've seen people, good people, just shut down, give up, or go the other direction and get so rigid they can't see anything else.
Yeah, I've seen that too. When I was younger, I wrote about this. Different ways people cope when the search for meaning feels overwhelming. Pride, despair, rebellion, submission, self-justification. I had this whole taxonomy worked out.
And?
And I was right about the patterns, but wrong about the tone. I wrote about them like they were moral failures, like people were choosing to avoid truth when they could just as easily choose otherwise.
And now?
Now, I think most people are doing the best they can with what they have. The person who retreats into pride might have learned early that vulnerability gets you hurt. The one who sinks into despair might have been overwhelmed by losses nobody should have to carry alone. The rebel might have been burned by authority figures who betrayed their trust. The one who goes along with whatever they're told might never have been given permission to think for themselves.
So they're not failures. They're survivors.
Exactly. These aren't necessarily moral defects. They're survival strategies, ways people have learned to protect themselves when the questions got too heavy to carry.
That's actually relieving to hear. I've done all of those at different times.
So have I. Every single one.
I just feel like I'm barely holding it together most days. Like everything's slipping through my fingers and I can't get a grip.
Listen for a second. You're not going to try to convince yourself that it's not worth the effort, are you?
Is it that obvious?
I remember that you went to church youth group with several of the other students most weeks. Do you remember that Casting Crowns song, Just Be Held?
Yeah. I haven't thought about youth group in years. I actually listened to that song a few weeks ago in my car.
I'm glad you did, because there's something in those words that I think was written for exactly where you are right now. Listen to me. Struggling to keep your grip doesn't mean you've lost your faith. Sometimes it just means you've reached the end of what you can carry on your own.
It feels like God took a step back. Like he's waiting for me to get my act together before he'll show up again.
He hasn't stepped back as things have gotten hard. He's closer than ever, right here in the middle of it with you. You don't have to fix your whole life today. You have plenty of time for that. And you don't need to have answers you aren't ready for yet.
Then what am I supposed to do?
For now, stop fighting the smothering weight of it all. Go to the Lord in prayer. Let yourself be held by God. Even if all you can do is breathe and show up tomorrow, that's still faith, and it's enough for now.
No one said anything like that to me in a long time.
Maybe you needed to hear it today. I'm trying to say, don't judge yourself harshly for surviving the best way you knew how, but do let yourself recognize when a survival strategy has become a prison, and to find the courage to try something different when you're ready. But that's later. Right now, for today, you just need to know you're not alone.
So what's the alternative to these survival patterns? If pride and despair and all the rest are just ways of coping, what does healthy look like?
Oh, you want the answer now?
If you've got one.
Well, I've got a principle. Whether it counts as an answer, you can decide. You remember what I used to say about extremes?
Yeah, I remember. Truth, health, and wisdom are usually somewhere in the middle of extremes. You said that about 100 times a year.
At least, but I meant it. I taught it in science, dynamic equilibrium, homeostasis, sustainability. Systems that survive are systems that find balance. Not static balance, but dynamic balance, constantly adjusting.
And you think spiritual life works the same way?
I do. Think about it. Pride is an extreme. Despair is the opposite extreme. What's in the middle?
Humility?
Right. Not thinking too much of yourself, not thinking too little. Just seeing clearly. Or take rebellion and blind submission. What's in the middle?
Some kind of thoughtful independence?
Good. Discernment, I'd call it. The ability to evaluate what you're told, honor what's true, and push back on what isn't. The balanced middle isn't weak or wishy-washy. It's actually the hardest place to stay. It requires constant attention.
That sounds exhausting.
It can be, but here's what I've come to believe. The tension is the point. The opposition between what we are and what we might become. That's not an obstacle to growth. It's the means of growth. It's like resistance training for the soul.
And you really think that's intentional? That it's designed that way?
I do. I believe there's a creator who set up this whole experience as a kind of school. And the challenges, the opposition, the struggle, the endless questions, that's the curriculum. We're here to learn and grow. The discomfort is part of the teaching.
That's either really comforting or really terrifying.
Some days, it's both.
Okay, but if balance is the goal and growth is the point, will I ever actually feel satisfied? Will the hunger ever go away?
This is something I didn't understand for a long time. When I first wrote about the hunger inside us, more than 20 years ago, I described it pretty well. The restlessness, the sense that something's missing, even when life is going fine. But I missed what it actually was.
What is it?
A gift.
The restlessness is a gift?
I know how it sounds, but think about it. If God, our Heavenly Father, wanted us to grow eternally, to keep becoming more than we are, how would that work if we could reach a point of complete satisfaction?
We'd stop.
We'd stop. We'd arrive somewhere good enough, and we'd stay there forever. Eternal stagnation. No more growth. No more becoming. The hunger, this restlessness that never quite goes away, is what keeps us moving. It's the engine of eternal progression.
So we're designed to never be satisfied?
Not permanently. Not in this life, no. And I know that sounds cruel at first. Believe me, there were years when it felt like a curse. But now I see it differently. Jesus said, "Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." Notice he didn't say that hunger and thirst are curses, but conditions of blessings. The bread of life and living waters Jesus taught about will fill us eventually. I believe it. I feel it. But it's a process.
So the itch I can't scratch
Might be the truest thing about you. The part that refuses to settle. The part that knows you're not finished yet.
I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse.
Give it time. It took me 20 years to see it as a gift instead of a problem. You're allowed to wrestle with it.
But if we're built to keep reaching, keep growing, keep struggling, won't we inevitably fail? I mean, I've already failed plenty of times. You know, sin.
Yes, we fail. All of us have fallen short of the glory of God. That's not pessimism. That's just the nature of an environment designed for learning. Any curriculum that requires risk and choice will include failure. That's how education works.
Then what's the point of trying?
Because failure isn't final. That's where grace comes in.
Grace. We talk about that a lot in our church, but I'm not sure I really understand it.
That's honest. Let me try it this way. You ever burn a lab experiment? Completely botch the procedures?
More than once.
And what happened?
You'd help me figure out what went wrong, and then I'd try again.
Right. I didn't kick you out of class. I didn't tell you that you were hopeless and should give up on science forever. I met you where you were, helped you understand the mistake, and gave you another shot.
And you're saying that's how God works?
I'm saying the pattern shows up everywhere because it reflects something true about how growth happens. In our faith, we talk about Christ as a refiner, someone who sits by the fire and watches the metal until the impurities burn away and his own image can be seen in it. The key word is sits. He doesn't stand apart waiting to judge. He's present, patient, attentive. He stays with the process.
That's a different picture than the one I grew up with sometimes.
Me too, honestly. I used to think of God as a judge waiting at the finish line. Now I see him more as a teacher walking beside me through every class, every failed attempt.
And the failures, they don't disqualify you?
They're expected, accounted for, built into the plan. The whole point of grace is that we can recover. We can learn from mistakes and try again. Not because we're perfect, but because someone more powerful than our failures is committed to our growth.
You know what's weird? Part of me wants to believe all this, and part of me is afraid to.
What's the fear?
That I've already messed up too much. That some of the broken parts of me can't be fixed. I've hurt people. I've wasted time. There are parts of my life I'm not proud of.
I feel that. Can I tell you about a song that helped me see this differently?
Sure.
There's a Latter-day Saint songwriter named Kenneth Cope who wrote a song called Broken. The lyrics walk through all these images. Broken clouds give rain. Broken soil grows grain. Broken bread feeds us for one more day. The chorus is simple. God loves broken things.
That's beautiful.
It is. and those thoughts reframed something for me. For years, I thought brokenness was the problem and God was the fix, as if the goal were to get repaired and then stay unbroken forever. But creation itself doesn't work that way.
What do you mean?
Seeds have to break open to grow. Bread has to be broken to nourish. Bonds must break for chemistry to happen. And hearts have to break to become capable of deeper love. The breaking isn't opposed to the growing. The breaking is part of how the growing happens.
So the places where I feel most broken.
Might be exactly where the growth is waiting. Not because suffering is good, but because God can work through it. He doesn't waste anything.
Even the parts we're ashamed of?
Especially those. The scriptures say He wants a broken heart and a contrite spirit. That used to sound like a punishment to me. Now I think it's just honesty. The recognition that we need help, that we can't do this alone, that we're still under construction.
I think I need to sit with that for a while.
Take all the time you need.
So where does this leave me? I came into this conversation feeling lost, and now I feel, I don't know, still lost, but differently?
That might be progress, actually.
You think?
Here's what I know for sure. You're searching, and the search itself is meaningful. The hunger isn't just the means to an end, it's the path. The hunger you feel, the questions that won't let you go, the restlessness that brought you to this food court and made you sit down with your old science teacher. That's all evidence that you're alive. Really alive.
That's not how it usually feels.
I know. But consider this. The people who feel no hunger, who have no questions, who are completely satisfied with things as they are they growing? Are they becoming? Or have they just stopped?
I never thought of it that way.
The questions that haunt you are invitations, not accusations. They're not saying you've failed. They're saying there's more.
Can I ask you something personal?
Of course.
Do you ever doubt? Like, really doubt? Or has your faith gotten solid enough that you don't have to deal with that anymore?
Oh, I have frequent doubts. Mostly about myself. I don't doubt God so much anymore. But there are nights I lie awake and wonder if I've got the whole thing wrong. If I've wasted my time and energy to do things that just don't matter.
Really?
Really. But here's the thing. Those doubts don't scare me the way they used to. They've become part of the process, part of the curriculum, if you want to use the school metaphor again. I've made a decision to follow Christ whether or not I have perfect understanding, whether or not I fit into any particular tradition's definition of proper belief. You know, creeds and theology. I feel the Lord's peace. I see His influence in my life, and that's enough for me to keep walking, even when I can't see where the path leads.
Conviction and uncertainty at the same time.
That's exactly it. They're not opposites. They're companions, just like the questions.
I don't know what I expected from this conversation. Maybe some kind of answer that would make the restlessness stop.
And instead?
Instead, I'm starting to think maybe it's not supposed to stop. Maybe the hunger is the point.
Look at you. You're doing the work.
There's that teacher talk again.
I told you, 30 years leaves a mark. But listen, I want you to hear something clearly before we go.
Okay.
Wherever you are in this search, just beginning, deep in the middle, tired or angry and ready to give up, the search itself is sacred. The hunger is evidence of your aliveness. The questions are doorways, not walls, and you are not alone in any of it.
What do you mean?
I mean, there are people all over this world, across every culture, every tradition, every generation, wrestling with the same questions you are. We're all fellow searchers, and in my experience, we find each other along the way. Sometimes in churches, sometimes in food courts, sometimes in the most unexpected places.
Like running into your old science teacher.
Exactly like that.
So what do I do now?
Keep searching. But maybe search differently than before. Instead of looking for answers that will make the questions stop, look for a way of living that makes the questions bearable, even beautiful. Find people who will search alongside you. And when you stumble, because you will, we all do, remember that the stumbling is part of it. The refiner is patient. There's always grace for another try.
Thank you, Brother Aaron. Really.
Thank you for trusting me with this. One more thing?
Yeah?
The fact that you're asking these questions, feeling this hunger, wrestling with what it all means, that's not weakness, it's strength. It's what being a child of God looks like. Don't let anyone, including yourself, convince you otherwise.
I'll try to remember that.
And hey, don't be a stranger. This conversation doesn't have to be a one-time thing.
I'd like that. Goodbye, Brother Aaron.
Well, I didn't expect to have that conversation today. But then, I rarely expect the moments that end up mattering most. Jordan is still searching. So am I. After all these years, after teaching and writing and ministering and failing and trying again, I'm still on the path to Christ, still feeling the hunger, still asking questions I can't fully answer. But I am glad to be relearning an old lesson today, that compassion for others begins with compassion for myself, that conviction and humility can coexist, that the Creator's wisdom can be read in the creation if we have eyes to see, that unexpected conversation partners, former students, strangers, even virtual or artificial, can illuminate what we've long sensed but not yet named. Creation is not finished. Neither is Jordan. Neither am I. None of us is finished. And that, I've come to believe, is very good news. If I'm blessed to remain in this mortal classroom for another 20 years, I'm sure I'll need to revise everything I think I understand, yet again. More cycles of struggle and growth await, more breaking and becoming. But that's the search, that's the curriculum, that's the gift. I can testify of my confidence in the divinity of this process, in the hunger, in the questions, in the grace that holds us through it all. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.